Hi folks, how you doing? This is Iqbal. TSM earnings is due on 18th of this month, and this can impact TSM stock price. So let's evaluate what could be a reasonable price projection for TSM after earnings using financials and forward PE. Let's get started. Starting with the financial analysis, I put together the summary of the financial data for last 6 quarters for TSM, and also I added the year over year increase or decrease, and also quarter over quarter increase or decrease in column I and column J. So starting with the revenue, you can see that year over year we have 16% increase last quarter versus last year same quarter. But if you see quarter over quarter, you see that the last quarter came lower than the previous quarter. So we can see that the last quarter for TSM in terms of the revenue was not so great. So if you take a look net income year over year, that's good, 8.9% increase, but quarter over quarter we see the reduction from 251 to 225. And even year over year increase is not so great, just 8%. In terms of the profit margin, gross margin, and EBITDA margin percentages, that is earning before interest, taxes, and depreciation, we see that the numbers are mixed. The profit and gross margin are not so great quarter over quarter and year over year. In fact, they are declining. But the EBITDA margin slightly above zero, so not so great. So in terms of the margin percentages, TSM is not going in the right direction. EPS actual for last 6 quarters, year over year we see 9% increase, but quarter over quarter we see a decline at 10%. We'll talk about more on EPS in the next tab. Free cash flow per share is doing good, so they have enough free cash flow per share. So this means that they are doing good job in managing their cash flow. Debt to equity ratio not changing a lot from quarter over quarter or year over year. In fact, it's declining year over year, and that's a good thing. And let's take a look the Q2 revenue forecast versus actuals. Let's take a look. In this table, I put together the expected revenue and the actual revenue for Q2 for TSM. As you can see that the actual revenue came higher than expected, and the surprise percentage is 2.94%. So that's a good sign. So quarter over quarter, we see that the Q2 is better than Q1. Let's take a look Q1. So as you see here, Q1 was less than 600. So quarter over quarter from Q1 to Q2 is positive, unlike we saw last quarter. So this tells that the revenue guidance will be much better what they indicated in the last quarter earnings call. So that will be a good sign, and that should help TSM stock go up after the earnings call. Now let's dig into more on the EPS and the forward PE. So you take a look at this table. I put together the historical EPS data, projected and actual, and the surprise amount, and also the projected earning for next 4 quarters. So you can take a look in all previous quarters. TSM was able to beat the earnings, and next 4 quarters the earning projections are higher. And if you take a look Q2 versus next year Q1, the earning growth is 23%, and that's a very good growth. Now let's take a look the forward P for TSM and try to calculate the price projections for TSM. In this table, I put together the adjusted closing price for TSM, the forward EPS, trailing 12 months EPS, and also calculate the P ratio with respect to trailing 12 months EPS and with respect to forward EPS. And we also call it forward P ratio. And also I have another table that has the trailing P and the forward P for last, I guess, 12 quarters. And also I have the projected EPS and the actual EPS and the closing price for last 12 quarters as well. So that can give you the earnings surprise for all the previous 12 quarters. I guess in all 12 quarters, they were able to beat the earnings. And then I calculate the mean, average, and the maximum earnings surprise, and also the median earnings surprise for last 12 quarters. And also I have the table for the earning projections for next 4 quarters. Another table I have that says median, mean, average, and maximum forward P ratio for last 6 quarters. And that will help us in calculating the price projection for TSM. So I already did the calculation for mean, average, and the maximum price projection for TSM. Let me go over the formula with you. For the minimum, the first factor I'm using H4, that is the EPS forward. The EPS forward is basically earning actuals for the last quarter plus next 3 quarters earning projection. The second factor I'm using is forward P, the minimum value for the last 6 quarters, and that is this one, S28. And the third factor is U35, that is the minimum earning surprise, and that is this one. That gives the minimum value of 131.73. Another factor you see that is 1.23. I'm using this factor as a multiplier because in next 4 quarters we see that the 23% earning surprise is expected, as we saw in the previous tab talking about this. So I'm using that as a multiplier. That gives the minimum price projection for TSM is 131.73. And for the average price projection, I'm using the same formula, except I'm using the average forward P for last 6 quarters and the average earning surprise for the last 12 quarters. You see that? T28 and U35. Then also multiplying with this factor, that's 23% increase in the earning surprise next 4 quarters. So for the maximum, I'm using the same formula, except the fact that I'm using the maximum forward P, that is U28, this guy, and the third factor is T35, and that is the earning surprise, the maximum value in this guy. The last factor I'm using as a multiplier, that is 23% upside in the earnings 4 quarters from now. So that gives the maximum price projection for TSM is 253, and that should be good, in my opinion, until the next earnings. That's going to happen sometime in October. But if the earnings surprise on July 18th comes higher than historical average, then we have to reevaluate this price projection. I will redo it just after the earnings if there is a major surprise. So that's all about price projection for TSM and the financial analysis and assessment. And guys, these numbers are based on my opinion and my assumptions. You may agree or disagree to my numbers and my analysis. Please write in the comment section what you think. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you more tomorrow. Take care.